evening and welcome to TV Tuần-san News of the Week. My name is Emma Doe. In what's making headlines this week, Filipino soldiers find the beheaded bodies of Vietnamese sailors abducted by terrorist group Abu Sayaf. Hanoi plans to push motorbikes off its streets by 2030. And the Australian Vietnamese Women's Association opens its third headquarters. In this week's top story, a young Vietnamese activist has been arrested and charged with conducting anti-state propaganda under Article 88 of Vietnam's Penal Code. Hanoi police made the announcement earlier this week on Monday, 4 days after reportedly detaining Trần Hoàng Phúc without a warrant. The 23-year-old Ho Chi Minh City native is currently being detained in a detention facility. He will likely be kept for at least 4 months for investigation. Under present Vietnamese law, Phúc faces imprisonment of up to 20 years if convicted. An experienced water buffalo handler in Vietnam has died after being gored during a traditional buffalo fighting festival. Disturbing footage from the incident has emerged showing a buffalo charging towards the 48-year-old trainer, piercing his leg and throwing him 4 meters into the air. The trainer was rushed to hospital but later died from catastrophic injuries to his brain, spine and legs. The traditional sport originated in northern Vietnam and was recognised as a national intangible heritage in 2013. The sport sees 2 water buffalo duel head-to-head before the winning animal is offered as a sacrifice to pray for good crops. The practice ceased during the Vietnam War but was resumed in 1989. The latest death was the first fatality since the sport resumed, but members of the public are now calling for it to be banned. Hanoi has approved a plan to ban motorcycles on its streets by 2030 in an attempt to reduce traffic jams and pollution. According to a statement on the city's People Committee website, the proposed scheme will gradually limit motorcycles in certain areas. Authorities first considered banning the notorious hordes of bikes in the capital last year over fears its leafy streets would soon be overrun. But with a population swell and a middle class buying cars in record numbers, there is concern over the feasibility of the plan. Motorcycle riders say it would be impossible to ban people from a mode of transport they've grown up with, especially given the city's poor public transport. Vietnam's rapid economic growth has seen household incomes quadruple since the turn of the century. 1 in every 2 of its 90 million people own a motorcycle, and car sales rose 30% in 2016. Hanoi is forecast to have 6 million motorcycles on its roads in the next 3 years, according to the city government. A Vietnamese architect is aiming to mass manufacture prefabricated portable homes that cost less than $2,000. Vo Trọng Nghia's designs are already in action. In a village outside of Hanoi, various prototypes of his designs are currently being assembled to serve as a Buddhist meditation center. Vo told the New York Times that he wants to manufacture the easy-to-assemble homes for people living in slums, remote areas, or in refugee camps around the world. His prototype, called S-House, is designed to last at least 30 years and to withstand severe tropical storms that can ravage countries such as Vietnam. Reports have now confirmed that Vietnam is drilling for oil in an area in the South China Sea, an area also claimed by China. Last month, a senior Chinese general cut short an official visit to Vietnam. It's now believed this was due to the drilling ship that began working off the Vietnamese coast on the 21st of June. China claims a majority of the South China Sea, but a number of other Southeast Asian nations, including Vietnam, the Philippines, and Brunei, contest the claim over various reefs and islands. Oil industry sources told the BBC News Service that the Vietnamese government had denied permission for the Talisman Vietnam ship to drill in the area for the past 3 years in order to avoid upsetting China. But the latest move suggests that Hanoi is now less concerned about upsetting its neighbour. Filipino soldiers have found the beheaded bodies of 2 Vietnamese sailors abducted last year by the Islamist militant group Abu Sayaf. In June last year, 6 Vietnamese sailors were taken captive after Abu Sayaf militants attacked their cargo ship. But one was rescued last month during a combat operation. A spokeswoman for the Western Mindanao Command told reporters that the two bodies were retrieved on Tuesday morning near the Filipino island town of Sumisip. She added that the heads were found beside the bodies. The men have been identified as Huang Tong and Huang Vahai, both crewmen of the ship MV Royal 16. Vietnam has prosecuted 14 former officials for land violations at a commune in Hanoi's district of My Đức. Local media reports the accused have been charged with abusing positions and their power while being on duty. VN Express News reports that the ex-leaders and officials of the Dong Tam commune illegally allocated and granted land to some local households between 2002 and 2013. In April, Dong Tam commune made headlines when residents held 38 civil servants and police hostage over a land dispute. Tourism authorities in Vietnam's central province of Hue are working with local police to stop vendors, beggars and tour guides from pestering tourists and trying to rip them off. Recently, the local government was called in to protect tourists from gangs in the central highland city of Đà Lạt. They had reportedly forced the tourists to pay for unwanted products and services. The new effort to make Hue streets more tourist-friendly ties in with a countrywide effort to boost tourism numbers. The Hue province aims to draw 3.5 million tourists this year and more than 5 million in 2020. Back to news in Australia. Australia's largest grain company has opened a malt processing factory in Vietnam to spearhead the country's growing taste for beer. Beer makes up 95% of Vietnam's total alcohol consumption, with a young population driving the boom. On Tuesday, the CBH cooperative from Western Australia opened up its $92 million malt processing factory at Gai Map Port in Vũng Tàu, just 80 kilometres south of Ho Chi Minh City. The new facility is the biggest specialised plant built in Southeast Asia. Each year, the plant will turn 140,000 tonnes of barley into 110,000 tonnes of malt, which will be supplied to beer brewing companies in Vietnam, including Heineken, Carlsberg, Sabeco and Habeco. The investment is half owned by CBH and 4,200 Western Australian shareholder farmers who supply the plant with grain. The CBH Group CEO Andy Crane told ABC News Australia that the Vietnamese venture was driven by the country's dramatic growth in beer consumption. Vietnam is one of the biggest beer consumers in Asia, drinking about 3.8 billion litres in 2016. The Australian Vietnamese Women's Association officially opened its third headquarters in Melbourne's southeast on Friday. The non-for-profit organisation, which already has one office located in Richmond and the other in Braybrook, held an opening ceremony for its Springvale headquarters with speeches, entertainment and food. Victorian politicians and representatives of the Australian Vietnamese community were present at the event. Established in 1983, the association provides a range of services such as gambling, drug and alcohol counselling, consumer-directed home care and planned activity groups for the elderly. In the past 10 years, it's opened its services to members of other communities as well. According to Australia's latest census data, the Vietnamese community comprises of 277,000 people, accounting for over 1.1% of the nation's population. That's all from TV Tuần-san News of the Week. For more stories, you can follow TV Tuần-san at tvtsonline.com.au and Facebook at TV Tuần-san. I'm Emma Doe, thank you so much for watching and I look forward to your company at the same time next week.